And here we are. Happy New Year,
Hello.
everyone. I want to start off by just thanking everybody who's tuning in and watching us. And as I say, wish everyone a Happy New Year. It's already shaping up to be a very interesting year with the events that have taken place in the last few days. So today, what we're going to be doing is talking about how a new year can give you an opportunity to look at things in a new light, and we're really going to be focusing on some of the lies that go on in the world, and the way that truth is twisted and manipulated, and the way that especially recent events have been framed by both sides in different ways, and I think that's a relevant and important point. And more to that, we're going to go into how we conceptualize truth on with regard to the amount of truth that is told, and by which I'm talking about a half truth or a lie by omission. And so I'm going to ask you, Jen, to answer first of all, like, do you consider a half truth to be a lie? So in other words, if somebody is telling you something about something that happened and they intentionally leave some parts out,
Right.
would you consider that to be lying?
Well, it's so funny. And one might think that we have this whole episode scripted, and we don't, because you just threw this question at me. I'm going to try to do my best to answer it. I do think that a half truth is a lie. Because think about it in a really real world, raw example. Think about a married couple, okay? There's one of the partners goes and has dinner with a business colleague. It turns into something that's like flirty. Maybe he invites her to do something afterwards. She ends up saying no, but then she goes home to tell her husband, well, it was a good professional dinner and that was it. It was great. Like,
yeah.
So that would be a lie. You know, that would be a lie. I can think of some instances in which it's still a lie.
Yeah.
Like we talked last time about the whole Santa Claus thing, or like not having any cookies or candy in the house or something when you really do. Those are like lies, but with kind of good intention to shield children from the real truth. But there's the lies. I think in the adult world, a half truth is 100% a lie. And we see this in the media all the time. We see this in politics. We see this in the work environment. We see this within our internal selves.
Yeah.
We lie to ourselves all the time. And but in the halfway lies, right? Because we justify them somehow. So we can make our brains believe what we want to believe, and we can justify our behavior that's maybe not the best behavior, or habits that are not the best habits, by omitting certain things that are actual truth. So yeah, I think half truths are lies. And yeah, what do you think?
I would tend to agree with you. I think again, as with the last time, there are degrees of that. Let's use your example. The woman simply might be telling her husband that because she's not intending to allow anything to go any further, but she still wants to be able to maintain this particular business relationship because it's a useful relationship for her business, for sake of argument. Sure. And if she was to say something different, if she was to give the whole truth, then she would have it would be very justified for her husband to say, well, I don't want you to speak to this person and do business with this person anymore, which would be completely understandable and completely justified.
Sure.
Regardless of what her intentions may be. So I think there is and I'm not trying to excuse that particularly here. I'm simply saying that there can be reasoning around that, and potentially what's happening there is you're telling yourself the lie to justify why you wouldn't tell the whole truth.
Exactly. It's not in that specific situation. It wouldn't be the husband's issue. Like she is more lying to herself, so she doesn't have to face the actual truth. So don't you think in that situation the husband should know the whole truth?
Yeah, I think so. I do think so. I think it's an interesting one because in some circumstances, being a husband myself, I can say that in certain circumstances like that, that there's nothing nefarious behind it. It's not
Sure.
it's not there because there is any intent there or anything actually did happen or anything like that. And therefore, do you wonder, would you as the husband have an actual problem with that business relationship continuing?
Well, it depends on the level of trust, right?
On the level of trust, exactly. Yes.
And when you make a habit, even if it's internally and no one ever knows about it, self-trust is probably more important, if not equally as important as other people's trust in you. But either way you look at it, continuously, repetitively telling yourself or other people half truths will create distrust in your relationships and within your internal self. And if you're a believer in God, it will take you away from that connection with him.
Yes, because the Bible is very focused on truth.
Yeah.
And very focused on always being truthful. And regardless of what the outcome may be.
Right.
It's the part that's referenced is what happened to the disciples after Jesus' death, that they were most of them were tortured or horribly murdered and killed because they refused to say that what they saw didn't happen.
Yeah, because they were focused on the truth.
And, exactly. Yeah. And that's often used as well as evidence, and that it must have happened because who would die for a lie? And so it's or anything they believe to be a lie, at least.
And that transfers to everything that we see today too, because living in truth leads to the most ultimate fulfillment in your life. However, living in truth requires a lot of sacrifice and risk and ridicule and hopefully not murder, but I mean, maybe, but it is what ultimately brings you to fulfillment.
Yes.
And staying aligned to the truth is incredibly important. And that's why we see so many half-truths and omissions in society and justifications for things that we know are wrong.
Yes. And I think for me, the biggest problem with a half-truth is that very often it is not even necessarily a half-truth, is a manipulation of what the real truth was. Great example is the thing that Trump's suing the BBC about at the moment for the Panorama program, where they selectively edited a speech to make it look like he was inciting violence on January the 6th.
Yes.
By taking the bits out from in between and putting several bits together to make it seem like that's what he was doing.
Yeah, and this seems to be
because the video, what they showed and the things he physically said at those moments, he actually said their truth, but the way they were put together was designed to make you think something that didn't actually happen.
Exactly. And we see this all the time now. And unfortunately, I think Trump was a huge target of all kinds of mixed up media like that. But I mean, you could do the same thing with this podcast that we're doing right now. I could take this and like then edit it to have myself or you saying something that you didn't even say. And that's the thing about social media. And it's funny because, you know, as a culture, we are relying less on the news because we don't trust it. And we are relying more on podcasts because especially, well, you can't screw up a live one, but because people like that real, raw, unscripted truth of things like, but like, will that eventually become corrupt too?
Well, I don't think so. I think one of the reasons that that these sort of conversational podcasts work so well and people like them so much is because it's reflective of a thought process. Because when you're having that live, unscripted conversation and you are discussing something, you're working your way towards an answer. Which is exactly what you do when you're thinking about something to yourself. You're effectively having a conversation with yourself. You are you're talking about something to yourself, and you're thinking about it, and you're answering certain questions, and you're going down a different line of discussion, and so on. And so I think that the reason that these work well is because people appreciate watching the process of getting to an answer.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Just as a side note, people are definitely commenting about lies and half truths. Thanks for being here, guys. Dennis, we have Aaron. Conscious information suppression is worse than forgetting a salient fact being omitted. Chris, thanks for being here. Let's see. Happy 2026 from Germany. Thanks for watching from Germany. I love Germany. Oh yeah. And Aaron also says to our little scenario, the wife protecting the husband is, well, preposterous.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Politics downstream from culture downstream from faith. Seek his face. Yes. Doug, love you. Isn't a half truth a lie? Yes. A half truth, half deception. Yes. Lies.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's truthful as well. That a half truth is a lie, but I think again it kind of leans into what we were talking about last time with the sort of white lies thing. In certain situations, would you leave out elements of the truth to make it less painful for somebody else? And again, that is a lie. I don't think there's any argument over whether or not that's a lie. I think the argument is it ever justified morally?
I can't think. So I can, of course, think of some situations in which that would be justified, maybe ethically, or maybe comfort wise. Like maybe somebody's lying on their deathbed and somebody might omit some sort of portion of their
might tell them something to upset them in a moment where it's not going to do any benefit to upset them.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I think morally, so ethically and on a comfort level, sure.
Yeah.
I think there can be usefulness in omission, but I think morally it's still wrong because the Bible says it is.
Yes. I would agree. I would agree with you there. I think that's the right way to consider it and the right way to frame it. Absolutely. I think that does make some sense. And I want to talk about what happened recently in the news, which actually happened yesterday. And whichever way you look at it, it was a tragic thing that happened. A woman in Minnesota was shot dead by an immigration agent because of an altercation that happened. Now, if you read some of the headlines around that, the headlines around that are being quite strongly pushed to suggest that if you didn't read any further than the headline, you would assume that they just effectively, there was a protester there, they just walked up and shot her. That's what you're being manipulated into believing by omitting the truth. because the headline will say something like anti-ICE protester in Minnesota shot, for example, or ICE shoot protester in Minnesota or something like that.
Right. Whereas, and the narrative there, of course, would be to make them look bad. But the real truth is what you're about to say.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is that she was in her car. She was blocking traffic. They had approached her to try to get her to leave the car so they could arrest her and prevent her from doing that. And she drove the car forward and nearly killed someone. Nearly ran over one of the agents there. And, you know, you can argue about whether or not it was, it was too much to shoot her or whatever it happened to be. But the fact of the matter is, if you are going to drive your car as an armed police officer, what are you expecting to happen? You know, it's and so, you know, it's an intentional manipulation of that of the truth there, because the truth is that she was trying to obstruct law enforcement from doing their job. And then went and did something that was easy to construe as a direct threat to the life of a member of that law enforcement by driving a vehicle towards them. It's not in any way surprising what the result was.
Right. And if you think about that in a little deeper way, also, like, isn't the main problem that she made herself face ultimately was the fact that she was running away from her own truth because they asked her to move or stop, and she chose to then try to run somebody over. She's fleeing from her own truth. If she, I mean, that's my take on her. Like, it's super unfortunate. Like,
it is. I mean, you know, I'm pretty certain that particular ICE agent did not go out that day, you know, with the plan to shoot somebody. You know, and I'm certain she didn't go out with the expectation that she was going to get shot for anything she did. But it's one of those things that happens in a heartbeat moment. And, you know, the entire incident lasted less than 10 seconds. And that's it. But the truth will be twisted.
I think that's really, really scary and dangerous. Like, and also if you think about it from a point of, so the fact that happened in such a short amount of time, panic can, if you're not completely anchored perhaps in everything you are and you believe, panic will turn your whole world upside down within a second.
Yes, if you're, I think especially if you know you're doing something that's wrong. I think if deep down on a certain level, if you know you're doing something wrong, then you're more likely to panic when you're confronted with the potential consequences of that.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. Even if you think about a little kid, little kids who behave poorly or do something wrong, or like, you know, back to the cookie example, they go in the pantry and steal a cookie when they know they're not supposed to. They will lie out of panic. They will try anything they can to get out of being in trouble. Like, but the same thing happens with adults, just in a different way, you know.
Exactly. I mean, children do it all the time, and it's because children are, you know, they're learning where the boundaries are in the world and so on. And part of that is, you know, I remember very clearly the first time my 2-year-old sort of lied, and it's a strange thing to actually watch in a young child, because they, for the first time, discover they can lie. Like, it's a discovery for them. They suddenly realize, hold on, if I just say this happened, mummy or daddy will believe me. And then if they get caught in that, they're not really sure what to do about it, because it's a completely new thing for them to experience. And I've often found it really interesting to look at that as she grows up and as she learns things. And I remember that first lie that she ever told. It was when she was she'd been given a piece of food at the table and she didn't want to eat it because she wanted I think she wanted some dessert, she wanted some pudding, she wanted some chocolate, she wanted something,
right?
And she still had a bit of her food left, and I think I was talking to Beth, and we were talking, and suddenly I looked around and it was gone, and I saw the dog slinking away. And so I said, did you feed that to the dog? And she said, no. Like it was, it was very clear on her face that the answer was yes.
Right.
But she said no because she knew she wasn't supposed to.
Right.
And so it's the first time I remember her ever doing that. And the first time I ever caught her lying anyway.
Right.
I mean, as far as I'm aware, she never did it before, but it's really interesting to see how children learn that and how children get around that.
I think that's really adorable in that scenario. So then this begs another question. Do you think, so I can remember when my son told his first lie, it was something really silly, like very juvenile, but he didn't tell his first lie till like maybe a year ago because he has special needs. He's 12. He is more on the level of a 6-year-old. So it took him a little bit to get to that point.
Yeah.
And it was just it was like that. It was a lie like that.
It was like a silly little lie.
Thing.
Yeah.
But that begs the question, do you think that for the sake of development, going through that stage is a requirement? Like, do you need to know what a lie is and have experience telling one in order to like be more apt to be morally sound?
I think you do. I mean, I've heard I've heard the phrase, "What's the use of the truth if you can't tell a lie?" Sometimes, and I think that I think there's something in that. Not to necessarily say that you should tell lies, but I think lying is an interesting concept in and of itself, because what you're actually doing with a lie is you're creating a story. And the way that we as humans function is through stories. The way we learn, the way we develop, the way we plan, the way we create new things, the way we turn, a pile of sticks into a fire is through telling ourselves a story about how we would do that.
Right.
And then going and doing it. And every single human invention, every single human innovation comes from ourselves telling ourselves a story of something that hasn't happened to figure out how we would make it happen.
Right.
So I think lying is intrinsic to human nature. The ability to lie is actually it's kind of baked in, because we need to be able to create things in our head that aren't true in order for us to actually be able to create a future.
I like that.
Yeah. And so I think I think for me, it's an absolutely necessary thing for children to learn that. They also need to learn why they shouldn't do it.
Exactly.
But I think it's an important and vital part of any of development that you do learn that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
it reminded me about it because she told me that she told me a little lie this morning. Right, she hasn't been feeling well. She hasn't been feeling well the last couple of days, and I got her out of bed this morning. I walked downstairs with her, and she said, "Can I watch TV?" And I said, "No, we don't watch TV in the mornings. You're not allowed to watch TV in the mornings." And she said, "Mummy let me watch TV in the morning yesterday." And I said, "Did she?" And Beth was actually walking into the room at the time, and she said, "No, I didn't." And she sort of had this face on, like, "Oh, I got caught." You could see on her face that she wanted to get something she wanted, and she thought, "Oh, Mummy's not here. I can tell Daddy that Mummy let me do this."
Right. And I think you said something key. Like she lied because she wanted to get what she wanted. Okay. So then do you think there are different levels of motivation for lies? And do you think any of them are good motivation, which we've touched on a little bit, but like, I would say most motivation for lies are out of self-protection or like something selfish.
Yes, I think they usually are. And actually it's interesting that you touched on sort of meetings and things like that. If you're in a business meeting, it's the same as if you're on a date. You are presenting a version of yourself that is the best version that you can present. Now, if you told the absolute 100% truth about all your flaws and all the things you do wrong and all the things you probably wouldn't get very many people to go on a second date with you. It's that's so and you probably wouldn't close very much business if you were 100% truthful all the time. And although I can understand and completely agree with the principle behind being truthful, I think that it's completely understandable that is the way people operate.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with you, because if you think about that, like dating, let's take the dating example. Yeah. I could, anybody could go on a first date or second date or even a third date with somebody and not want to tell their whole life story.
Yeah.
Because it might change their perception of you before they get to know who you are today. But, I might be afraid to tell somebody of my past, or that I tend to be an avoidant, or that I don't believe in this or this or this for more moral reasons.
Exactly.
And, so you might not divulge every single thing, but at some point you have to, or it is a lie.
Yes.
Now, I think it's different though for people who are in public positions.
Yeah.
I think people in public positions have a responsibility to, let's just call it their personal brand, whether you're an entertainer, whether you're a politician, whether you're an attorney, whether you're a physician. I think you do need to tell the truth, because you are in a position to where people need to trust you. And I think the truth needs to come as it happens, And I guess you could argue the same in the dating thing too, but then it would really turn people away from a lot of people pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean, a good example is the thing that happened with Maduro in Venezuela. If they had told everyone that's what they were planning on doing, they wouldn't have been able to do it. So there is a certain element of hiding the truth before a particular event occurs.
Sure.
And so again, there's a lot of gray area within this.
There's a lot of gray area. Think about surprise birthday parties.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how do you give that away? What do you do about that? How do you surprise somebody without doing a certain amount of truth omission?
Right.
I've had it before. I've had something delivered to the house, and Beth picked the box up and said, "Oh, what's in there?" So, it's something for me for the office. And I'll just pick it up and take it upstairs because it's for my office, but it's not. It's a present for her that I'm going to give to her in a few days or whatever it happens to be. And if I told her the truth there, it would ruin the surprise. So it's so there definitely are times where it becomes ethically okay. And again, I think there's some fairly clear lines there. But they're easy to blur. They are very easy to blur.
They're easy to blur.
Yeah.
It's funny. I went into this conversation thinking that I don't see any gray areas. Except for the kid thing, I mentioned before, but there are a lot of gray areas. There are a lot of times in which it would seem like the right thing to do to keep something back.
Yeah.
So you can argue all you want about whether that is truly right or wrong.
Yeah. I don't think
biblically it's wrong.
Lies. Yeah, it doesn't stop any of them being lies, because it's still a lie.
Yeah.
And if I ever speak to somebody and they say I never tell a lie, I'm like, well, I think you're probably lying.
Yes. Every single person has told a lie for sure.
If anybody was to tell you, I don't lie, I never lie, it's like, well, you must, because everybody does, even if it's mostly to yourself.
Right.
You're still telling.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's a nuanced concept. I don't think that we've got any disagreement around whether or not omitting a truth or telling a white lie or anything like that are lies. I don't think that we've got any disagreement there. I think we're on the same page there. What we're talking about now is really when and if those things are morally or ethically okay to do.
Right.
And when that, and where the lines are, because lines become easy to blur. And actually, it's one of these things with that I've noticed is that they, pathological liars, everyone's met people like that and so on. Habit. As it becomes habitual, it becomes easier.
Right. And that's another one of these internal struggles. Now, I think some people who do habitually lie, I don't even know if they realize they do it anymore.
No, I think a lot of people don't.
And they might think that they're a completely righteous person and justified in whatever they're saying that's actually a lie, because they actually believe it themselves.
Yeah.
Which can easily happen. Because like I said last time, I think what you tell your brain believes, whether it's actually happening or it's not. It doesn't know the difference. And so you can, through repetition and belief, train yourself to believe something that is a lie.
Yes, exactly. And actually, they've been able to show that on lie detector tests and things like that. Whereas if someone has been able to tell themselves a lie often enough to the point of where they believe it, it will not come up as a lie when they do a lie detector test.
Because I totally believe that.
They believe that. They believe it to be true in their own world. It's true.
The brain is fascinating.
And it is, and I think that relates quite well to what Aaron's just said here in the chat about, I speak to Jesus Christ every day and he never lies to me. No, but that's because there was only ever one perfect person.
That's true.
Nobody else is perfect, and that voice is the voice that I think even if you're a habitual liar and if you're a pathological liar and so on, I think even when I lie, and I'm lying in, not even like, I can't remember the last time I told any lie that I would even call anywhere near the sort of egregious end of a lie. But I've told lies, everyone has. But even when I'm I'm saying something that's not 100% true, I still know.
Yeah.
I still know on some level that I'm not being truthful there.
Yeah. And that's, and you can call that, your self-conscious telling you that, but I think it's the Holy Spirit nudging you like, hey, you probably shouldn't do that. Not probably, you definitely shouldn't do that. And here's why. Frankie just says, is a lie strategically being held back? Is a lie strategically being held back a lie, or just called withholding, meaning choosing not to say what is true yet? And the example of not surprising your wife with a gift.
Yeah, because you're intending to reveal the truth there.
Yes.
It's not like you're intending to keep that a secret forever.
Withholding is a good word there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is relevant. I definitely think it is. Yeah.
So back to this whole Maduro, Trump. I want to segue that into AI and how AI. Okay. Because that just made me think, so after that whole thing happened, I saw this really funny video. Now, it looks so real, right? It looks like it was, I'm sure you saw it too. I don't know. It was Trump and all of his people. They were capturing Maduro, but Maduro was in this Hello Kitty pajamas.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's
and they were taking pictures.
They've done it like the picture reel at the end of The Hangover, haven't they? Where they're all he's got a cigar in his mouth and they're all drinking around him and everything like that. Yeah.
But he's in pink Hello Kitty pajamas and it's hilarious. But but it's so believable. But there are videos like this that are surfacing. I've even seen this used in really good ways that are not comedic. There's some app that I keep, how when you see things and then it keeps telling you things that you might like. So there's this app that keeps popping up on my Instagram that's learning history, but it's AI videos teaching you what actually happened in history so you can remember the stories. That could be really useful. But is AI and the way it's used to create videos, is that for good, or is that all a lie? I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this before we came live, didn't we? In that if AI creates a video, even if it's a video depicting a true event, is it real?
Yeah.
And suppose that then opens up the whole concept of, is something that isn't conscious, because AI isn't conscious yet, able to tell a lie?
Yeah.
Okay. And I've been looking at this because we do quite a lot of stuff with AI. Obviously, we do a lot of investment into AI companies and things like that. And one of the companies we work with is a company that's specifically building a utility layer which is designed to eliminate what they call hallucinations from AI, where it finds incorrect information and gives you incorrect information because it's trying to give you an answer. And it opened up a really interesting conversation in that the AI isn't consciously telling a lie. It's trying to give an answer. It's just giving an incorrect one. So lies need intentionality.
Right.
To be classified as a lie.
Okay.
Like, for example, if you were to tell me something that you believed was true and it wasn't true, but you believed it was, were you lying to me?
No.
No, exactly. You were telling me what you believed to be true.
Unless I'd already convinced myself that
lie,
original lie was.
But in which case you actually already knew the truth.
Yeah.
If you didn't already know the truth, if you just heard something and you believed it to be true, and then you told someone that thing as if it was true because you believed it to be true, I would not be lying. You're not lying. You're telling someone you believe to be true. It's something you believe to be true based on your understanding of what is true.
Yeah. So if I truly believed the video of Maduro and the Hello Kitty,
exactly,
I wouldn't be lying.
You're not lying. Exactly. Now you can get into whole, being a bit more discerning and being able to sort of, look into things a bit more critically and have some critical thinking and so on like that. But if you're telling somebody something you believe to be true, but it isn't true, then I don't think you're lying. You're lying when there's intentionality.
Yeah, I agree.
When you're telling you're telling a lie in order to cover up something.
Yes.
In order to deflect away from what the real truth is, in order to hide what the real truth is, in order to make someone think something differently to what the truth is.
Yes.
That's where I think there's lying. I'm the interesting thing is we're working with a film studio at the moment, and and one of the things we're talking about there is actors are all professional liars. That's what they do. They professionally lie. That's what they're about. Which is why you shouldn't trust any of them when they tell you who to vote for. I think that that's their job. So are they doing something immoral? By effectively professionally lying, by professionally pretending to be something else and saying things that they don't believe and saying things they don't think are true and so on for a script, for a job, for the thing that they're doing. How do you,
No, I don't think, because that is their art. That is their skill. Just like acting in theater, right? That's, I mean, I don't think that's a lie. Now, I think they do still have a responsibility to either outside of that, outside of their acting, they have a responsibility to be themselves, their true self.
To have a truthful person to them. I mean, one of the things that I have heard about that is some of these actors, especially ones who are exceptionally good actors, are often referred to by people who know them and meet them as they don't seem to have a real self. And the reason they're an actor is because they can only live through these different characters and so on that they create. They don't who they are underneath is really difficult to define. And they feel very disconnected, especially from things like God, especially from faith, especially from all these kind of things. It's a very interesting one.
I agree. I know quite a few people in the entertainment industry, but I think in a good way, things are changing in that arena. I think the people that I've become close to in that industry are very truthful, and they actually have even started having a relationship with God again. So I think that's a good thing. And they're even, take Matthew McConaughey, for instance. No, I don't know Matthew McConaughey, but he's like a great example of truth and biblical tradition. Like, he is a great example.
Yes.
of an actor who can effectively lie on screen and then be a true husband, a true believer, true to himself.
Yes, absolutely. And he's talked quite publicly about that as well, which I think is the reason that most people understand that. And I think that's an exceptionally good thing. I think there's a few other actors who are like that as well, and they tend to be the ones who are more Christian and more faithful. Good examples: Chris Pratt,
Yes.
Mark Wahlberg. There's a few of them who are very much like that. And won't work with certain projects and won't work with certain things and so on because of their faith. And I think that's important. No, Frankie, no cigar today. Thank you for. I've got meetings to go out to after this, so I don't want to smell those cigars. But
oh, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah. I know. I was actually like secretly hoping you'd have cigar just on every episode now.
Well, I can make sure I've got more of them for the future. I can definitely do that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Dennis, I like your question about speaking on how lawyers and politicians are paid to lie, because it's true. They are, and it's probably the reason why I personally have such a problem with lawyers and politicians, is that not only have I never really met any who I would consider to be particularly good at their jobs, but also their entire career and therefore most of their life is built around lying.
Yes. Yeah. So I can speak to the other side of that. Yeah. I agree with you, but I've been very close with several attorneys, and I actually trust them. But they're like the kind that are litigators. So they're like definitely lying and fighting for maybe things that they don't even believe in, right?
Yeah.
Whoever pays them,
who they don't believe is innocent, for example. Yeah.
And this happens all the time. And I've always wondered, like, how do you rectify that within your soul? And I think again, like and I can say that one of the people I'm thinking of now, he is anchored to God. And so how does he rectify that? Well, in some way, glory to God will be like that will be an outcome. Now, for the other person I know, he's a very, very good person, but he really, really I've never met a person who has more stress and more anxiety because of that constant inner battle.
It's a continual conflict. You're trying to live a Christian life in the truth, and yet your entire career and therefore most of your life is taken up with lying. I think that is a very difficult circle to square. And I personally wouldn't know how to begin even unpacking that. But for me, I think politicians, yes, they're absolutely paid to lie. But the problem is that with politicians specifically is they're incentivized to lie.
Yeah. Yes.
And that most of the time lying doesn't come with consequences.
Exactly.
That is the problem. And if you put that to lawyers and so on as well, a lot of the time being good at lying actually comes with benefits. They actually are more successful and are more lauded and get more praise and more opportunities and so on because they're good liars.
I agree with that. Do you think and I know, like, it's hard to ever trust any politician because all of them, I believe all of them lie. There's not one who does not lie.
No.
However, do you think our current administration is doing a good job in, especially if you take someone like J.D. Vance or something, like he's anchored to God and he's publicly speaking about Jesus and all these things now. Do you think that is going to preserve part of that? Like,
I think so. In my opinion, it's the most truthful administration that I have seen in my lifetime in any country, because the people going into it are not going into it for political expediency.
Yeah.
They are going into it because, especially the people at the top, especially people like Trump, especially people like RFK and people like that, they've gone in to this because they've got a mission that they're trying to achieve. And so as a result, they can be a lot more truthful. And it's one of the reasons the media hates Trump so much, is because he says what he thinks.
He tells the truth.
And he tells the truth, Or even when he says something that's he's quite often a bit rambunctious and will over egg something and make it out like it's bigger than it is. And that's what they don't like, is he won't speak politically. He speaks how he speaks. He speaks how he wants to speak. But that's why so many people vote for him.
That's why so he's either hated or loved. And some of the things he says are just absolutely terrible. I personally like him.
I personally like him.
The things he says are so, like, I would never want to be told some of the things that he has told people. But then again, like, how can should he tone it down and be a little bit more respectful sometimes? Yeah. But
maybe.
But I really respect the fact that he is so truthful.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say that he's more trustworthy than so many other politicians, because he is truthful.
Absolutely, and I think that's I think it's proving quite substantially that I have always believed, and I've always said that the cancer of democracy is the career politician, because the career politician will always lie. They will always manipulate. They will always be untruthful in order to further their career, because their career is staying in power.
Yes.
Their career, they are not there to serve people. They are there to serve themselves.
Yes.
I believe it may have been Socrates, or is one of the other Greek philosophers, who said that should politics ever become a career, then corruption is a certainty.
That's pretty powerful and very true.
Yeah, exactly. And that is borne out to be about as truthful as you could possibly be. All you're going to do is look at every single place in the world where politics is a career and corruption is an absolute certainty. And that is the problem with it. I'm not going to try to dig into to how we completely rebuild the entire political system of the Western world at this moment in time, but there's definitely that is an existential problem within the political sphere.
For sure.
Because lying is incentivized, as it is with lawyers and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Which to me tell me that those things are divorced from the true way. They are divorced from the truth. They are divorced from God. They are divorced from Jesus. They are divorced from the teachings of the Bible, because they are rooted in being untruthful,
in earthly things and earthly power and earthly possession.
Yeah.
So if you are anchored to Jesus or to God, preferably both, can you go wrong? If your aim is Jesus, and you keep that as your main reason, as your why for everything, can you go wrong?
I don't think you can personally go wrong in yourself if that's what you do. I think you can go wrong in the world.
Yes.
Because the world is not anchored that way. And there is such a large prevalence of evil and evil acts and evil intentions and focus on the earthly rather than the spiritual or the divine. And so you will probably live a life that you can be very happy with, but you may not ever be able to get yourself to a position where you are able to influence the world in a good direction.
I don't know about that.
I'm not saying that's 100%. I'm saying that I think that will have an impact on some people. They will not be able to climb those ladders without having to play the game that is required to climb them.
Well, yeah, when you're thinking about the power ladders and the corporate ladders, yes, I think in order to reach the top of most of those things, not all of them, like I can think of companies like is Interstate Battery is a very Christian company. I think some companies in it's maybe perhaps different, but yes, mostly you're going to have to be part of some sort of corruption in order to get to the top.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to say. There is that you are required to play those games to achieve the outcomes that you want, because the power structures are so set up to be intrinsically linked to earthly things and not connected to godly things, that in order for you to have an influence in the world that is a positive influence, you will likely have to do some things that are reprehensible to your faith to get to the point at where you can make those things. I'm reminded of the line. Have you ever seen the film Kingdom of Heaven? No. The one a very good film. It's about Jerusalem in the and the Crusades and so on. There's a point in there where the main character is being pressured by others to kill the man who's going to become king, because he's a terrible person and he's going to get them. He's going to take them into a war and he's going to cause all sorts of problems. And so they're saying, take him out and we'll make you king and you'll be a better king, and it'll be and we won't have any of these things happen. And he refuses to do it for the moral the moral grounds of doing it. Yeah. And the woman who's actually speaking to him, she says, the time will come where you wish you had done a little evil to do a greater good. And it's and I think that speaks to an element of reality in the world, not necessarily a moral argument, not necessarily an ethical argument, not necessarily, that's just what you have to do. That's the way the world works. It's simply that the way the world is currently set up with people and the way that people behave and the way that people act means that sometimes you may have to do those things. Yeah. In order to do the good things. Now, yeah, that opens up a whole nother rabbit hole of where the lines are there.
That's really tough. Yeah, that's really tough. But it kind of takes you back to the whole Minnesota thing, right? Yeah. He needed to do that. Like, think about, there could have been. I don't know him. I don't know what he said about this. If he said anything, because I haven't seen, but. There could be so many things going through his mind. Like, what if this lady runs me over and then proceeds to run over everybody else? Yeah. Like,
in that flash second, I think it's what happens is it's knowing this from, some military training and so on that I've done and everything. It's just the training that kicks in. When you're in that situation and suddenly your life is imminently threatened, you don't really get the opportunity to think all of that through. Your training reaction kicks in, and then it's afterwards that you've got that you're actually able to think everything else through,
process it. Yeah.
And so I think in that example, it's very much the case that whichever way you look at it, whichever side of it you're on, it's a regrettable incident. Sure. No, there isn't. I don't know very many people on the right who would say, "Well, she deserved to die."
Of course not.
but there are plenty of people who have already heard on the left saying that the ICE agent deserved to be run over. And there are probably some people on the right who are saying she deserved to die, but I haven't seen many of them yet. But I do think that most people who are reasonable would say, yeah, we wish that didn't happen, that hadn't happened. Right. However, there is clear attribution of where the blame should lie there. And I think that's the and again that comes down to what's true.
Right.
What is the truth? The truth of the matter is you did something that made an armed law enforcement officer fear for their life. And if you do that, what are you expecting to happen as a result?
Exactly. And everybody knows that. Like, everybody knows that. I mean,
you would think so anyway. Yeah. Most people you would think would know that.
Yeah. It is really unfortunate though.
But it is. And
sometimes unfortunate things happen. Just like, Jesus couldn't perform miracles on everybody, and he chose not to for certain reasons.
Yeah.
Just like it's not some result of a generational curse or something that, like, for instance, my child wasn't born with heart defects because of some terrible thing I've done. Certain things happen and things are unfortunate. But I think the key is truth and glory to God.
Yes, and I think that I've never agreed with the statement in general of everything happens for a reason. But I think everything happens with the opportunity for you to give it a reason.
Yes.
For you to make it matter.
Yes.
And make it either a negative or a positive.
Yes, it is your choice at that point, and how you take any given struggle that you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's I can't remember where it originated from, but it's life is not what happens to you; it's what you choose to do with what happens to you.
Yeah, which is why they say life happens for you.
Yeah,
that's real talk. Like, life happens for you. It's all about opportunities.
Exactly. So. I think so, and my genuine feeling here is that one of the problems is the way that the truth has been manipulated to get to the point where certain people have bought things that they have bought a lie and now they're living it. So, going back to the same example we were just talking about, that woman was there because she has bought the lie that these are illegitimate government Gestapo style agents rounding people up illegally and unfairly and so on and so on, which is completely untrue.
Right.
But that's the lie that she's bought. That's the lie that she has bought and believes in her own mind. And when you think like that, would you feel justified in running over a Gestapo officer?
Well, yeah, and
that's the problem.
No, but yes, theoretically, yes. But the thing is, like, she believed that lie, wholeheartedly, and that again speaks to the fact that I think I said this at one point. I believe all people are innocent. Now, I think evil is a construct that grasps the souls of people who let it. And then they believe the evil instead of the good.
I think everybody has to try to, most people, I think, try to convince themselves they're good people, whether or not they're doing terribly bad things all the time or not. A lot of them will try to convince themselves they're good people. There are a few who absolutely 100% know they're on the side of evil and they're doing evil things. But yeah, I think most people who are on the wrong side of things, who have bought into the lies, who are doing things that are clearly evil, have have justified it to themselves, whether that's through genuinely listening to lies and taking them on board, or whether that is through lying to themselves.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, and I think that's where it becomes difficult. It's how much do you lie to yourself?
Yeah.
That will ultimately tell you
that's a really important question.
How good.
That's an important question.
Because that will ultimately guide what happens in your life.
Yeah, and it's an important question, I think, to ask yourself now at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this whole new year, new you is such BS, I think.
Of course it is.
Just like resolutions are, because resolutions are not
Why do you need to wait for the special time of year to change your behavior?
Yeah, no, it's just simple things that need to be done and things that need to be X'd out of your life and things that don't. But I think it's a good time to reflect, what is your actual truth and what truths are you hiding from?
Yeah. And
absolutely. How can you change your life according to the actual truth instead of what you have bought into, or really assess every part of your life and determine what truth you're actually hiding from.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I think that's a great place to end it today. We've gone a minute over on the stream. Look at that. We could probably have gone longer, but thank you everybody for joining us. Really appreciate you all being here, all of your comments, and getting involved. Really been great. Thank you. Please do tune in next week. We'll be on the same time next week. And in addition to that, please do go to our website. We've got the website up and running, and we're going to be starting to put content onto the website, put new things on there, put articles on there, and build a bit of a community in the back end of the website. So please do go there as well. We'll add that into the episode description, so you've got it all there for you. And we look forward to speaking to you all and seeing you all again next week.
Yep. Thank you guys so much, and God bless.
Thank you.